this is a warning because it's actually National Messy Hair Day. So you don't need to be on YouTube and look good today. You can be as casual or messy as you really want. So yeah, um, for those who also might agree today, if summer is not for you with the heat, your hair, and everything else, oh my gosh, I can relate to people right now who are gonna say that. My hair does not like this weather. It's not gonna cooperate until I shower. So, who else can agree? Who hates summer? Oh my gosh, I hate this heat. So yeah, okay. Today, I would like to tell my special needs group from Disneyland that, okay, the clock is winding down, so 16 more days till the trip. So, okay. So the Walt Disney's Enchanted Tiki Room is now open, and we are early. It was supposed to open in 2 more days, but it had a soft opening yesterday, and it's completely working. Everything is finally working. The Tangaroa tree, even though sometimes he calls it Tongaroa, Thurl Ravenscroft when he speaks. Um, Everything looks incredible. Now that the Tongaroa tree, when the flowers come down, that hasn't worked in, I can't even imagine what it was. Years. And it's tough because when something doesn't work, then it's not the greatest experience ever. I realize that. It's been tough too to realize Matterhorn is still going to be closed for the foreseeable future. Um, I have to say, I'm not going to be surprised by what some people are saying that might be true, that Matterhorn may not open till fall. I hope it's not much later than that, because that would be very, very sad if Matterhorn had a very unforeseeable future, and that if something happens with Matterhorn, that would be very sad, because, oh, hi, I'm Ashley Jones, Disneylanders with special needs. I said it's National Messy Hair Day, so that's why my hair looks the way it does. I decided to embrace it. Oh, hi guys. So, it's really funny now with these themes on Facebook and everything, or when somebody decides it's a national day for something, it's really cool because sometimes you don't even have to get dressed or do anything. You can just be yourself, and that's really cool. Like, yeah, okay, I know my hair with this National Messy Hair Day does look bad. Yeah, I know. It's pretty funny. So, with everything being said, if anybody has questions about Disneyland or some of the refurbishment calendars at Disneyland, it's, really interesting with all these refurbishments. I know I can't wait to go back to Disneyland and see the new Walt Disney animatronic and watch the show. Oh, hi down there too. I see a lot of people on here right now. Okay, so like I was saying, oh, my dogs are bothering me while I'm on YouTube. How about that? Do you get to see my? Here's my dogs. The white one right here. Sorry, it's blurry. That's Benji, and this is Ellie. So that was my dogs. Hold on, let me put you guys down for just a second. You guys are really messing up the proceedings. Sorry about that. My dogs decided to want to go outside. You know, I can see some people, due to my messy hair day and not caring and everything, are saying some not very nice comments. Please don't do that on here. Negative comments will not be accepted on this channel. And if you can't say anything nice, don't say it on here because I don't want to hear it. And yes, due to my autism, I know what it's like to be bullied for most of my life. And I will not allow it on this channel. And if anybody makes any derogatory comments about me, this channel, what I stand for, or anything, this will be it. You will be blocked and held responsible for what you said. So I try to be as nice as I can. I know some people don't recognize me like this, but I'm still the same person. I'm just trying to have fun and use the theme of National Messy Hair Day to have fun with my fans. I know some people just don't always show how nice they can possibly be. And I know social media, YouTube, all of that can have some very, very nasty and hurtful comments. It's been really hard because I've gotten teased on here before. And like I said, please don't do it. There are consequences for that. I have to be very stern with my YouTube channel because I don't really want anybody to ever be uncomfortable on here. I just want to, get together with people that love watching my channel and my videos, and for me to be honest and have fun with everybody. That's all. I really don't know what else to say in terms of that, but hi, I see a couple more people down here. Nice to meet you. So, yeah, if it's National Messy Hair Day, fully embrace it, enjoy it, and don't let anybody ever tell you otherwise. Oh, thank you, Will. That was a very nice comment. I'm glad you really love my channel. That makes me feel so good. So, yeah, I'm happy for the positive comments. Let's keep it going because I know it's not easy to be on YouTube sometimes or social media when I do both. Sometimes there's people who are not very understanding of theming, of the way I might talk or the way I might look to certain people. But like I said, having autism can be increasingly difficult for somebody with a social media and a YouTube account because there's so much online bullying out there that a lot of people can't really fathom why they're getting bullied. It, you know, it's hard because when I was in school, you bet I was bullied. Pretty much since I could walk and talk, I was bullied. Starting in preschool, there were two little boys that liked to pick on me. And yeah, it wasn't really fair because I couldn't do everything like the other kids. So they picked on me. Like, for instance, like I said in another video, for a long time I couldn't cut with scissors. I couldn't play like other kids could. I was not athletic due to my bad balance and always falling down. I had trouble. I couldn't tie my shoes until I was like 11 or 12 years old. So yeah, there were some times. Oh, and I didn't like certain clothing. Or the other thing was really bad was I used to be really bad about having, I didn't have the best social life for many years, but as time went on, I got a lot more social, and it's much better because now I can stand up for myself when things get hard. I didn't really start standing up for myself till the end of elementary school. Finally, in third or fourth grade, I finally put my foot down and said, no, I'm going to tell this kid like it is. And it was sad because, yes, sometimes it could have gotten me in trouble, but in some ways, let me let my dogs into the house again. I'm sorry. Oh, what? Oh, sorry. I'm talking out loud because my mom is speaking to me. Yeah, this is kind of hard when you're running all over the house. Okay. Sorry for the rude interruption for just a second. Okay, my dogs, like you saw in the video real quickly, are Ellie. Ellie is 6 years old, and she is Dachshund Hound, Chihuahua, and Miniature Pinscher. And Benji, the little white fluffy one, is 6 years old as well, and his name, so definitely a Benji dog, so that's why we named him Benji. And Benji is Shih Tzu, Maltese, and Terrier. So they're both three breeds. They're the first dogs we've ever had that are three breeds instead of either one or two. Um, Actually, the only purebred dog we ever had was my dad's Australian Shepherd, Pepper. So that was funny. Having one purebred dog and having all the other ones be mixed breeds. It was funny because when I think about our dogs, I say, oh my gosh. Thinking about it now, I really wish I could get video footage of all of them and probably put it up here, but I'm not the most tech savvy. Oh my gosh, Will, so you have three dogs, so one golden retriever, lab mix, and the other two are rescues, so you're not sure about their breed. Well, it's funny that happens because, I'll tell you, most of our dogs were actually rescues, except for a few. They were most of our dogs, so I'll give you a little run up. When we adopted some dogs from Pasadena Humane Society, uh, my dad did his Australian Shepherd first. His name was Pepper, and Pepper was a blue mural Australian Shepherd, and Pepper almost lived to be 20, which is, oh gosh, that's ancient for a dog, especially that size. But Australian Shepherds are known for their long lives. They're usually very healthy dogs. Pepper was very healthy until the final 2-3 years. So, we were very blessed for that. Um, then it was really funny. My mom found a little dog also who was, now I did look this up to see why, with a couple pictures and a couple things, they can pinpoint on some things now what your dog's breeds are. So Pumpkin was gray and white, and for years and years I kept telling my mom, she's got sheepdog and Shih Tzu in her, Mom, I just know it. And sure enough, when I went to do the work to get Pumpkin's breeds figured out, she was Shih Tzu, a little bit of English sheepdog, and also the one I never even really thought about, 2% of, what was it again? Oh my gosh. I forgot what I said. There was a weird 2% 2 percentage she had in her. And I was trying to remember what it was, but I'll think of it. So Pumpkin maybe made it to 12 or 13 years old. I can't exactly remember what happened with her. Uh, Probably due to some illness. Then, when we got our next dogs, Max and Mitzi, Max was Dachshund Hound Beagle. Mitzi was a Terrier mix. We were trying to figure out what else she had in her. My dad had tried to think she might have had a little bit of not only Terrier, but slightly he thought of something else, and I'm trying to a Westie. My dad thought she had some Westie in her. That would have been very interesting to think of that combination. So, um, those dogs lived to be 9 and 11 years old before they passed away. Following those, well, actually, back up the boat. After Mitzi passed away, Max, who was fighting lymphoma at the time but was going into remission, was very sad. So we knew we had to get Maxie a little buddy to play with quickly so that he could still try to fight and not give up. So we found a little dog at the Humane Society named Lisa. I didn't name Lisa. She already came with her name. She was 10 months old when I got her, and she was Dachshund Hound Chihuahua. She was my first Chiweenie. Uh, Max made it another pretty much close to 2 years before he passed away from lymphoma. Lisa kept going for quite a while. Um, Sadly, Lisa passed away from a bladder tumor in 2000 and what was it? 2018. And then, so weirdly enough, back up the boat one more time. My brother, from a family that we knew who had friends that had puppies, these dogs who had puppies. So we went to check it out, and we met this dog, well, puppy, who was 5 months old. His name was Spike. And Spike, when we got him, oh my gosh, it was a laugh to see what he would do to grow into his long legs and his tiny frame until he started to grow up. But Spiky definitely grew into his frame. Spiky got really tall. So Spike was a medium-sized dog. He was half pit bull and half Labrador retriever. His lab personality was the thing that was hilarious. He didn't act like a half pit bull, but Spiky looked like a pit bull. Like almost everybody thought Spiky was a full-blown pit bull. He didn't look lab whatsoever. It was so funny that I couldn't believe he was half lab. But Spiky, luckily for many, many years, was in great health. We were blessed with how much he loved to go for walks, to have people food. He was a big fan of different foods. He loved to play, but he was a scaredy dog. He was afraid of his own shadow. Contrary to having a pit bull mix, he was a fraidy dog. So then, sadly, Spiky, about 9 months before he passed away, started to have a lot of stomach problems. Unbeknownst to us, a couple months before he passed, Spiky just started having some trouble. And when we finally got him diagnosed, it turned out, watch for this if you have a dog, pancreatitis, of all things. Like, what in the world, pancreatitis? I've only heard of pancreatitis in humans. So I'm shocked. So Spiky made it to 15 years old, which for a dog that size is incredible. So now, we have Ellie and Benji that I showed you. At 6 years old, they're still young, but I know that next year they're going to be known as seniors. So that's not my favorite time of their lives. That's kind of scary. So yeah, if anybody knows what I'm talking about, for sure, it's not easy as your dog's age. It can be very tiring. So let's get on to back to the Disneyland program. So what's happening now is now that Tiki Room is open and now that Matterhorn is still closed, unfortunately for our special needs group, we're a little bit bummed out that Matterhorn isn't going to reopen for a while, but I understand that Matterhorn is going through some increasingly hard times. Don't forget, the Matterhorn at Disneyland was built in 1959. So, 1959. So, that's very, very old. If anybody has to realize, like, wow, that's over, like, pretty much if my math is correct, that's over 60 years. I know I'm not the greatest mathematician, so don't quote me on math problems. I'm horrible. So, yeah, Matterhorn isn't doing well. Sadly, it had some issues with the track and the audio animatronic, Abominable Snowman, that people affectionately call Harold. But sadly, Matterhorn is starting to show its age. There's some problems with the rock work, too. I guess some pieces have been kind of showing their sign that they could fall off. And they definitely don't want that due to liability and cosmetic reasons. So, I don't know what's going to happen to Matterhorn down the road. Somebody asked if Matterhorn's going to survive the next couple decades. I don't know, but yeah, it's kind of hard to pinpoint. And plus, it's a very hard ride to maintain for cast members because it's so old and it's not working as well as it did. So they're trying to save Matterhorn for the foreseeable future, but they don't know how long Matterhorn's going to be running. It's sad to say that because it's a classic ride and it's been there forever, but sadly, if it isn't going to be, able to be fixed and to be safe, then sadly, those are one of the things that might just have to permanently retire due to age. There's been some problems and speculation, too, on some other rides. Somebody asked how the teacups, the Mad Tea Party, is still running. Okay, well, the Mad Tea Party had a renovation, I forgot how many years ago, where they replaced some of the mechanisms for the teacups. Okay, my favorite park is Disneyland because I love almost all the rides except for a couple that make me really sick. I don't get sick on almost anything, but the rides in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge made me so ill, I had to go sit down with a massive headache and an upset stomach that didn't stop for over an hour and a half. Oh my gosh. If anybody knows what it's like to be sick on a ride, raise your hand. It's not fun. Your head feels like it's gonna go boom, and you're sicker than a dog. So I had to sit down and have some Sprite and just try to sip it and just relax. And whoever relies on Imodium at the park sometimes, oh my gosh. It's either a ride that can get you sick or some of the food because you're not used to some of the food that you're getting at the parks. So your stomach isn't either. Make sure you know what your limitations are with food, your sensitivities to certain ingredients, any allergies that you may have that, or you're not sure, go get allergy tested. I highly recommend it. When I did, it confirmed some things and actually surprised me at the same time. So, real quick, like, yeah, okay. Most of my life, due to my autism, I was deathly afraid of birds for the longest time, and I'm still deathly afraid of fish. I don't like the way they look. I don't like it with their mouths open when they die and their eyes are open staring at you. I also don't like it the way they function. They're pretty scary looking. So, due to my autism, some things will scare me that most people wouldn't even think about. So then actually, it was a good thing I was afraid of fish. Because when I got allergy tested, I actually tested to be a level 5 or severe allergy to all fish and shellfish. So I could actually die thanks to those things. I could die by being contaminated in any way by fish, or if somebody did not tell me fish was in certain dishes and I didn't realize it, even though it's kind of easy to tell most of the time with fish, but you still have to be really careful, or that could be it. Like, oh my gosh, I never know what would happen if I didn't rely on my instincts early on. I knew something was wrong, not to only be afraid, but that smell, like, yuck, I hate that smell most of all. Like, yuck. Fish smells terrible. I don't know how to describe it rather than it smells like dirty socks that have been laying around for months. That's the way I can say I think it smells. But it's sad. It's a good thing I do think that way. Otherwise, who knows where I would be today. It's kind of scary. The other thing is, I'm also level 3 allergic to ginger. Level 3 is right in the middle. So a level 3 would mean, okay, I could have stomach problems. I could have a really bad upset stomach to the point of being sick both ways. I could have a headache. I could feel like the room is just like I need to lay down. Okay, so don't ever eat too much ginger when you're allergic like that, because you'll regret it. Then it was really weird. I knew most of my life I was very, very sensitive to garlic. Okay, yeah, I can drink ginger ale. Most of the time, that actually is the one thing that doesn't hurt me is ginger ale. Don't ask me why. I can have ginger ale. I can have ginger snaps. I can have, if my mom makes a little something with ginger powder, I can typically eat it. But the fresh grated ginger is typically the culprit. I have to be very careful. One wrong move will be disastrous. So, then, my whole life, my mom was always wondering, and my dad too before he passed away, was always wondering why I had such a sensitive stomach all the time. Oh my gosh, if I ate one wrong thing, I was going to pay for it. Sadly, very early on, my mom and dad could not process why I was having so much trouble with garlic. And the sad thing is with garlic, it's in a lot of things. Sadly, you have to watch out, being very careful what types of garlic you use. Garlic powder, fresh garlic, you watch out because it can be in everything. And the sad thing is, there used to be, who remembers Farrell's Ice Cream Parlor out in Buena Park and some other locations? Well, I do better with garlic powder than I do fresh chopped or grated garlic. I have to be very careful. Pretty much that would be disaster if I ate fresh or grated garlic. Garlic powder, it depends. If it's too much, then oh yeah, I'll probably still get it. I'll get sick. So yeah, who knows a Farrell's ice cream parlor out in Buena Park and some other locations. Only reason this is going to make anybody laugh that's never been there, okay, it might have been an ice cream parlor, but it also had dinners. So Farrell's had their famous garlic fries. And the worst thing was, at the time, I didn't think about it. I just was having fun with my family were we celebrating my birthday, Mom? I don't remember. I'm trying to think. And the tough thing is, when I ate the garlic fries, all of a sudden I looked at my dad. I said, Dad, I'm going to be sick. So my poor dad took care of me for over probably 45 minutes with me sicker than a dog. I scared my dad and the rest of my family to pieces. But especially my dad, who was always the more cautious one when it came to certain illnesses or sensitivities, because he was very, very aware about taking care of me a lot when my dad and I traveled together more than I did with my mom. So my dad was more my caregiver in some ways, maybe a little bit more than anybody else. So yeah, when we went to Farrell's and that whole thing happened, I was thankful for my dad, because if it wasn't for him that night, I wasn't going to get through that. Oh my gosh. So no more garlic fries from there on. I can laugh at it now because, yeah, even though it wasn't funny at the time, it kind of makes me go, oh my gosh, the garlic sent me into a nosedive. What in the world happened? So then, when the allergy test was complete, oh boy, did we know, level 5, allergic to garlic. Now, unlike most things that a level 5 could be potentially fatal, I don't think the only way garlic would ever be fatal is if I couldn't get my electrolytes back into rhythm, or if I couldn't keep food down anymore, or if it felt like I was so sick that I, had a high temperature that I could not get down. But that would be horrible, and I pray that never happens. That would be awful to go like that. So yeah, it's really hard to sustain. Oh, and I'm also lactose intolerant. So I have to drink lactate milk. And if I want any dairy, I have to take these lactase supplements so I can digest dairy. So any dairy at all, cheese, milk, cookies, any of those things, I have to take pills before I have dairy. It's very hard. And I know a lot of people on here may not realize, if you have allergies after you feel like you're sick, you're stuffy, you don't function well, please go get allergy tested, because it's not worth it to keep suffering. It's terrible. You never realize until it's really too late how much an allergy can really hurt your life and potentially end it if you're not careful. We've been talking about how there are way different allergies out there now than there ever used to be. And it's sad because there's food dye allergies. Yeah, you name it, they're out there. So yeah, going back to with my dad. Yeah, my dad and I were so close because my dad and I spent so much time together traveling, going to church, taking the metro. in Monrovia down to Los Angeles. We went to the Autry Museum in Griffith Park together and to Bob's Big Boy out in Burbank. We traveled to concerts 2 times in a row, like a year before he passed away, and the year he also passed away, a couple months before. We went to this carnival that they had out in Arcadia, California, and they did this really cool oldies stage show with all these old songs and audio animatronics. So it was really cool. My dad and I got those times together that most people probably wouldn't think about doing with their parents. And yeah, because a lot of people have asked me that have known me, oh, how old was your dad? And I said, well, when he passed, he was 71. And people are kind of like, okay, whoa, 71, like, what in the world happened? Well, it's really hard because, see, times were kind of stacked against me with what was happening with my dad for a couple years. Back when I was 7 and my brother was 5, in 2001, my dad had his first heart attack at 50. So, unbeknownst to me at the time, I never really realized it until my dad had a talk with me later down the road that my dad almost didn't make it at that point. That scared me to pieces. That I thought at 7 and 5, like, we almost had to get used to that. Like, you gotta be kidding. So, and I know we're not alone in what we've been through, but it is, to me, it sounds a little unusual. I don't know how rare it is or how uncommon it might be. But unfortunately, times, seem to be getting better for the longest time. I thought my dad was doing a whole lot better as time went on for a while. Well, as time went on, and a lot of people can say this about their parents as they age. Okay, when somebody starts to slow down and have health problems, you immediately go, now what? Like, what is going on with my parents or my dad at the time? Like, my mom really relatively for the most part has been healthy. Like, I can't say a whole lot that's been happening with her. Just naturally getting older. But my dad, as time went on and everything, his health took a harder turn. Sadly, and I don't know if I've told this story before, but on July 2nd, 2023, my dad and I went to church together when we used to go to the Glendora Alliance Church in Glendora, California. And there was a restaurant up the street called Kara's Corner. It's like a coffee shop / restaurant. So, my dad and I were going in there and we were starting to order, and I started to tease my dad because all of a sudden he goes, I'm going to get a Weight Watchers lunch. And I looked at him, I said, Dad, it's Sunday. Aren't you going to have fun, Dad? And he looked at me and he goes, I think I want to take off 15 to 30 pounds over the next couple months. So I said, okay, Dad, more power to you. Okay. So my dad got his Weight Watchers lunch and his veggies and his salad. And his one bad thing he had, which made me laugh to this day, is he got a diet. Well, he tried not to get a Coke. I made him get a Diet Coke even though he hated it. He was not happy that I made that decision for him. And I now kind of wish I didn't. But my dad did it. He drank it and ate all of his food. We had a nice time at lunch. So driving back to the house, he started continuing to tell jokes and making me laugh. Then he came up with a funny thing where he goes, when I get home, I think I have to tell myself and slap myself and say, you know, his name was Dennis. So talking about himself, he said, "Okay, Dennis, you're gonna clean out your junk drawer today if it kills you." Okay, those comments right there, you don't think anything of it, right? So okay, we got home and my dad saw that Twilight Zone was coming on. The old episodes of the 1960s show Twilight Zone. Being from that era, he was so excited. He couldn't wait. So he started watching an episode of Twilight Zone with us. And, okay, he got up. He started going toward his bathroom and said, "I'll be back later. I'm going to go clean out that awful junk drawer I was talking about." So we left kind of looking at him and trying not to laugh out loud, not realizing what was going to happen a little bit later. So my dad goes in his bathroom. I hear the door open and everything. And weirdly enough, I don't know if it was open or closed when he was in there, but out of the blue, all of a sudden we heard a loud thud. And we're like, at first we thought it was my brother, Chris, because my brother had a bad back at the time. Okay, anybody that remembers what I told you about our family when we talked about Family Day was my brother is 6'5", so closer to 6'6", and he's very tall, so when his back hurts, he's carrying around a lot of height and everything on him. So that's not easy on somebody's joints. So we thought, okay, wait, maybe Chris fell or something. Maybe my brother slipped or something. No, but my brother was okay. And then we started to kind of look at each other and go, wait. So then my mom, Miss Smarty Pants here, all of a sudden immediately gets on the phone with the paramedics, with 911. And without even really thinking about it, she made my brother go to the bathroom door and try to see what was up with Dad. But when my brother tried to go in, the door was stuck. My brother at first thought it was locked. And my brother kept trying to, what the heck? Why would he lock it if he's just going to clean the bathroom? No, that wasn't it. This is another warning to anybody who has people in their lives with heart problems. No, but the door was not locked. All of a sudden, my dad literally collapsed and he had a heart attack in his bathroom, and that was it. My dad never woke up. When the paramedics came just a couple minutes later, when they came, I was so shocked how fast they were. Like, those guys are rocket ships when they come in to help somebody. Literally, I couldn't believe the sight that I was about to see. They took my dad literally out of the bathroom and laid him on our dining room floor and tried to defibrillate him with the defibrillator 6 times. Usually they only do 4 before they finally kind of go, this isn't really helping the situation. But they tried 6. Now, maybe my mom kind of sensed everything before my brother and I did. But at the time, you don't want to really, even if you did know, you're not going to want to be admitting that you might have an instinct that you're not ready for. So I put my dogs out in the backyard and made sure they have water. And then we went to the hospital, which was USC Keck in Arcadia. And they pronounced my dad deceased at 6:17 p.m. on that evening. 71 years old, I never ever thought I was going to lose my dad. Uh, so my brother and I had the realization at that point that things were definitely never going to be the same. Those who have lost a parent can raise their hand too, because I know it's no easy picnic. I know now that if somebody loses a parent, they don't know what to do. They're just as much dumbfounded as anything. And for the rest of your life, you don't get over that. Sadly, tomorrow's going to be 2 years since we lost my dad. No, I know definitely I'm sharing in my family's pain to realize that my dad's going to be gone 2 years tomorrow. I'm not ready, even though I can talk about it. My mom is definitely doing a little bit better, but she's still, of course, after being married for so many years, of course my mom was like, like, what do you say after being married for over 35 years? Like, what in the world do you think of next? When somebody's been married for that long, you don't get over that. Once your spouse passes after that long, you're not going to get over that. And so, same thing with my brother and I with our dad. My brother and I've shared this on the channel before, my brother and I were adopted. I was born on January 8th, 1994, like I said. I was adopted at 6 days old. My brother was born Christmas Eve of 1995, so almost 2 years later. And I think I shared this story too, but this is pretty funny. When my baby brother came along, I was not warned what the heck was happening at all. They didn't have time to prepare me. So, what do you do with that short of notice? Uh-oh. So when they took us to go get my baby brother and everything after not even 24 hours old, I wanted nothing to do with my baby brother. Oh my gosh, I couldn't have been more pissed off that I was going to have a little brother intruding in my life. So, with that, in the hallway, because I didn't want to go in and see my baby brother, I was with Uncle Gary, my mom's brother, and Uncle Roger, my dad's brother. I didn't want to go see him, so yeah, classic sibling is right. My two uncles had to entertain me for a good long time, and I think finally maybe a couple days passed or so, and I think my mom finally started to tell me by making me help her a little bit. You know, go get me a diaper. Can you do that? Go get me the baby powder. Go get this. You know, then I started getting a little bit more aware. Okay, I guess I have a baby brother now. And it kind of hit me that I wasn't alone anymore. But yeah, my dad had to not only sit there and laugh, as a couple times I would go over and give him a dirty look or something as time went on. But for a while, my brother and I were pretty close. But as time went on, of course, with a sibling, anybody who knows having a sibling, you fight like cats and dogs down the road. Yeah, so it's not easy to have a sibling. But as time went on too, my dad had to really start watching everything, because we knew my brother was going to be super, super tall, but we never quite got just how much. And so when we were kids, we had to be careful playing together, because my brother was so much bigger than me. By the time he was like in 5 or 6 years old, I never caught up to him. After that, kindergarten, first grade, I never caught up to my brother again. So he was always so tall that my dad knew we were pretty careless playing together. Oh, yeah, we were little monkeys, like going off a jungle gym or something. My brother and I liked to wrestle, even though my dad was afraid to let us wrestle. We were also climbers, even though that was kind of hard for me sometimes. My brother and I had a funny story with my dad. My dad was babysitting us, and I think he had somebody over for helping him with something. But my brother thought and I thought it would be funny to jump off the top of our bunk bed into a bunch of pillows and blankets. This is where the story doesn't get funny anymore. My brother and I instinctively decided, okay, let's jump off. When all the fort and everything, as we called it, was set, my brother went off first with no problem. He landed on everything. It was A-okay. All of a sudden, I don't know what happened. All of a sudden, I hit my face on the table, the stand where the TV and the video games were, and knocked out 4 baby teeth all at once. I was, let's see, was I 6? Oh, I was 7, so my brother was 5 at that time. It was, yeah. So I knocked out 4 of my baby teeth that were pretty much what was left of them. And when my dad heard me screaming bloody murder, of course my poor dad couldn't believe it when he came in and saw my bloody mouth looking at him. I felt so bad to see my poor dad in such a state of shock. So what does my dad have to do? Carry a screaming child into the bathroom to take care of the mess, and then go tell my brother, who is not really wanting to divulge what exactly happened out of being, my dad was scared and angry. But he knew my brother was trying to dare me to do some male, playing time activities, and I wasn't able to. And I definitely shouldn't have done that because I didn't have the power to jump that far. And sadly, my brother was quite a bit more athletic than I was. So no wonder he made it without a scratch. So my dad had to take care of me that night, and I became pretty, yeah, okay, 4 teeth. Not only are you going to be bloody, but you're going to be swollen. So my mom came home the next day. I forgot where she was staying. She might have been out with somebody in another part of California, up north or something. So yeah, when she came back, she got the shock of the story, what happened, and oh man, of course, they're like, okay, I think we're gonna pretty soon get rid of the bunk bed. So they did. They pretty much told us, okay, we can't trust you guys anymore. You guys are way too playful with the bunk bed. So we instinctively, that was the last time we ever shared a room. And I got my own room, and my brother got to stay in that room. So it's funny when you have a dad that, is a worrywart, and you test the bounds of what it is with your parents. It's pretty bad, but it's pretty funny also. If anybody ever had a funny story of what they did when they got hurt that scared their parents, you can share it. Ooh, that's painful. I haven't really ever chipped a tooth, but knocking them out when you're a kid is, I don't know what would be worse. Chipping one or losing them and having blood coming out. It's too bad because now that I thought about it and I went, oh gee, Dad was lucky that I didn't hit my head so hard that I could have cracked my head open that night. Yeah, when you have a kid, that's the last thing you want is somebody to hit their head so hard that they have to go to the hospital for stitches. I didn't quite get that bad. The worst thing I ever did, too, was my dad knew I was very playful outside, always running around barefoot. And one day, I was running around on the grass like a rocket ship while my dad was cleaning the garage, and a bee went and stung me right in the middle of my foot. And I screamed so loud, a couple neighbors came to see what was happening. The one right next door to us on the left side, and a couple from across. So when that happened, my dad was the craftiest about taking out stingers. My dad was really good at that. Oh boy, don't ask me to cooperate though. I was little. I think I was 9 years old when that happened. Yeah, I was 9 years old. So, and my brother was looking at me like, what in the world is your problem? Like having a little 7-year-old watching you get a bee stinger taken out of your foot. Oh my gosh. Then finally, when Dad couldn't get the bee stinger out with his tweezers or his credit card, he finally did what my mom taught him all along, to use baking soda to get the stinger out and all the venom. You use baking soda and put it over the stinger, and it will eventually, hopefully, come out. It's not foolproof, but most of the time it works. Baking soda has properties that cause it to bubble and grab the stinger and the venom and try to pull it out without much intervention. After that, you can lightly dab it and clean it up. But don't press on it because there will still most likely be pain and some residual swelling after that. So that's another first aid lesson that I share on this channel. Because, yeah, this is summer. So there's a lot of bees and a lot of different bugs out. And if somebody gets stung by a bee, everybody knows that's not fun. Watch it even if you go to Disneyland. There's flowers all over Disneyland. And one wrong move and whoops, you could get stung anytime. Sadly, too, I know there are some people who are deathly allergic to bee stings. And the saddest thing is, in a lot of ways, I have to be ready, because at Disneyland, I have CPR and first aid certification, and so do most of the people in my group that are my chaperones and helping me. Not my chaperone, but the ones that help with the kids and the adults with special needs. I have to be ready for anything. And it's hard because I have to be ready for insect stings and bites. I have to be ready for choking. I also have to be ready if somebody has a feeding tube, and if it becomes a little bit dislodged, I have to be right on it. If I cannot get the tube in a minute or 2 minutes, then it becomes an emergency case. Because then access could start closing, and they may have to do some intervention to make sure the feeding tube site doesn't start to close. So you don't have long to react when there's a feeding tube intervention. Also, the same thing with the trach that goes up in right here into the trachea. Once something happens with that, if it starts getting stuff inside of it as well, like debris, it's not good. That automatically turns into an emergency because the person cannot dislodge the foreign object or debris from the trach without possibly having it suctioned out. That person isn't able to mostly cough like you and I, or expel the item without help. So that's when that becomes a really life-altering emergency if you're not careful. The other thing you have to be aware of with these medical injuries in a theme park is to also be aware if somebody has an intervention to, wander off, that is another thing that can be serious. To wander off at Disneyland, oh no, like, oh my gosh. You need to be ready for that. I'm always mostly telling them, here's the deal, that if somebody starts to run off, I have name tags, and we're also made to have kids who have their school IDs and any other identification that we can use to go to a cast member to intervene and tell them what happened. So far, so good. I haven't really had to experience anything like that. But it can happen at any time, split second notice. And I also have to be aware, sadly, that kids can choke. Kids and adults with special needs are more prone to choking because they're not great chewers. Their motor skills are not normal. And I'm speaking from my experience as well. And the teeth might also have some problems due to some deformities or some other issues orally. Or if somebody stays on the bottle or pacifier too long due to being special needs and not going to a cup at a certain age, their teeth might start being a little bit, you know, what can I say, a little oddly developed. But the sad thing is, a lot of times it's unavoidable where you better be ready if somebody starts to choke. Brush up on your Heimlich maneuver skills and get ready for anything. It doesn't matter if you're young or old, you can save a life at any time. And with the right training and the right teachings, let somebody show you how to properly do it if you have any questions. It's nice talking to you too, Will. I hope you have a lovely evening too. So yeah, with all of this medical intervention stuff with my Disneylanders with special needs group, I have to be ready at all times because I did have a little girl that wasn't even part of our group at the Jolly Holiday Cafe, and all of a sudden, nice to talk to you too, Will. Hope to catch you again too. So yeah, like I was saying, I started eating at the Jolly Holiday Cafe with my group, and all of a sudden I heard this choking sound. I went, wait a minute. So I kind of turned over to the left, and I could see a little girl who was just, man, her color was so bad. And I heard her choking, but she couldn't cry or do anything. So then I had to spring into action because somebody else was just looking at me like, I don't know why they were looking at me at first. But then the dad looked at me and he forgot how to do the Heimlich maneuver. He didn't even remember how to do it. If you're a parent, most of the time I would recommend learning or relearning the Heimlich maneuver if you forgot. Because if you do not know it and your child is in desperate need for help, some people may not be around that know what the Heimlich is or how to properly execute the Heimlich maneuver. So you need to be ready. So anyway, I was ready and I was able to execute. This is just after I finished my CPR and first aid training a couple months previously. So I was able to do it just fine because I had that fresh knowledge of how to do it. So I got it, and the dad was so impressed that he actually ended up being so overwhelmed he got me a cookie from the bakery. I was just like, I didn't need that too. Like, and he goes, no, I want to give this to you because if it wasn't for you, I don't think my daughter would be here right now. Very, very touching, but at the same time, you're like, oh my gosh, I can't take all the credit. Like, yikes, what do you do now? So after she was okay and everything, I decided to pay it forward to her too. And I let her pick out a pastry or a cookie that was soft so that she wouldn't have any more trouble eating. And that she picked the Mickey Mouse Club cookie. So she was okay eating that slow and sitting down. So there was no more choking. And I sat with them and enjoyed my cookie so I could also monitor her and make sure she was all right. She was fine, just definitely happy to be able to stay at the park. Yeah, it's scary out there. Watch out if you ever have anybody around you that's not the best chewer or a lazy chewer. Sadly, due to my autism, I used to be a very lazy chewer. So it's harder for me to do some of that as well, like certain textures. I kind of have to go, oh my gosh, some things are hard. So there's certain things you gotta be careful with. Well, I think this for right now is gonna have to be. It's been an hour, so I'm happy to talk to all of you. But I'm gonna charge my phone because it's down to 20%. So I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.